Okay, it's about time. So we'll go ahead and get started. Hello and welcome, everyone. This is Vineet Punjabi with Quintype, and we are very excited to launch our partnership program through the webinar today. This could have been a very plain vanilla download of our partnership structure, the value, the benefits for any individual or an organization that touches the digital publishing ecosystem. But we thought of giving it a different spin and actually get one of our partners who've been on the ride with Quintype for a little over a year now, come and share their experience and, talk about, how the journey has been in terms of working with Quintype. So around that, I'm going to start by introducing Fiare, as well as Tommy Haikonen, who's the CEO of Fiare. Just a quick background, Fiare is a 20-year-old technology consulting company based out of Finland in Europe. And while they are AWS partners managing AWS services for a lot of their clients, they also have their own online marketplace solution, which they started off back in 2001, I believe, have been working with several magazine publishers, digital media publishers, legacy newspapers out of Europe. But I'm not going to take that thunder away. And hello, Tommy. Thank you for joining us. Could we please start with a quick introduction about yourself and Fiare?
That is just fine. So hi, Vineet. Good to see you again. It's not been too long since we talk quite often. And hello to everybody at the audience. Yeah. So my name is Tommi Heikkonen. I am currently now outside of Helsinki in Kirkkonummi in Finland, in Northern Europe. We are experiencing a wonderful summer in here. Actually, too wonderful, I think many. But about Fiare, yeah. So as Vineet mentioned, so we've been around for a while, so more than 20 years. And our origin is actually one of the marketplace sites, nettiauto.com, which would be our local autotrader.com comparable thing that we originally developed here in Finland. And through our own development, we created our own marketplace platform, which then the actual service was sold to one of the big media companies, but we had this software which we've been then licensing out to media companies for more than 10 years. And through that, we have quite a long and extensive knowledge about media companies and media business and what's happening in there. And that's actually how our partnership with Quintype came into place in the first place. So we've been in media, we know technology, and then maybe we'll talk soon how we ended up discussing with Quintype. But that's it in very short. We are 85 people in total. We have also our own development center in India, but then we have we are headquartered in Helsinki, Finland. Then we have offices in London, in New York, and we have customers in 15 different countries. That's in a very, very, very nutshell about Fiare, and yeah, I think we could go from there.
Thank you very much for that, Tommy. So, I mean, just in the interest of the wider group over here, I think a lot of people might be curious, how it all really started. So I'm going to harken back to say about I think it's been about a year, a little over a year, 18 months perhaps.
It's more than a year, yeah, over a year. We forgot to celebrate our anniversary.
Yeah, and what we'd like to understand is, for the interest of the wider group, how did it all start? And we know that you're working with a lot of these media companies. Where was there a need, and say how did you find out about Quintype?
Yeah, so it all started. One of our quite long-term customers, Karjalainen, a leading regional media company in Finland, who we've been serving with their CMS for more than 10 years, just put their foot on the ground and said quite seriously that we want to go digital first. So we had provided them with the Joomla CMS, which did serve the purpose of being the website while the main business was somewhere else. And actually initially our thinking was that, okay, there's a new version of Joomla coming out, that maybe we can go with that, but they were quite firm that they actually wanted to transform the whole way they do business. And they were just saying that we need now tools that are really designed for running digital business, and that has enables actually a very big part of it. They wanted to change the way their journalists work, and that was the very key of it. Now, so we were looking for a new CMS solution, or actually our customers were the one to do the actual browsing through the market. And we were a little bit sort of like thinking that probably there's not too much for us to do there, because there's like so many CMS providers out there. If you think generically, that there's quite a few CMS solutions out there. And then they did a very thorough market study. Mm-hmm. So they went through a very large number of possible partners, providers who could be solving their needs. And to our quite big surprise, the list was actually very short, that they ended up having that who they thought that are very serious players on this market. And actually first rounds, when they were browsing the market, in first rounds they didn't even come across Quintype at all, but there were demos and introductions, and we were part of them, sort of like with the customer. And they, after each one of them, they were thinking that there's something wrong with this and there's something wrong with that. And then at quite late phase, they found Quintype and Bold. And they were first of all very impressed the first on the demo session and everything that Quintype did. And then things simply just started to click on places, sort of like that's a very good sort of the product. This sort of like philosophy is exactly the one fits their thinking, how this all should be going. And so it went. So they realized that, okay, the software, the solution is just ideal for them. But then they were looking around that there were regional media publisher in Finland, whereas Quintype was based in India. And now the ones who know about Europe and the GDPR, how regulated it is, how you deal with any kind of personal data and so forth. So they just simply became hesitant. So if they can work directly with the Indian provider. And then we sort of raised our hands and said, like, why don't we do so that we form a partnership with Quintype, and sort of we provide the service to Karjalainen. And so it happened. And they were our first customer. And then we actually started to understand that market better ourselves, and we realized that this is actually a really, really good fit to the market. In general, one could say that media companies have been talking about going digital for more than 10 years, I would say. Any media conference where you've been going for the past 10 years, it's been about this digital first. But from our standpoint, it's been a lot of talk, not too much action. Whereas now we are seeing these projects going on, and this is very exciting times to be on that market.
That's very, very heartening to hear. In fact, just to add a little bit more background around it, Karjalainen, as a matter of fact, is a 140-year-old legacy newspaper, that's driven from Finland, and for them it was, quite, I would say, a change management sort of solution where they went from a print first approach to a digital newsroom having a sort of digital first approach with it. But besides, going digital first and, thinking about publishing digitally before, the content goes onto the print side of things, what were some other value adds, benefits, that came about for Karjalainen? Of course, I'm assuming there was a comfort factor that you've already had that existing relationships with the publisher, and you've been working with them on multiple occasions with the rest of your products, or managing the Joomla system, as well as the AWS services as might be required. But yeah, what were some other value and benefits that essentially came along for the end client or Karjalainen? And I believe the website is already live, so for those interested could actually hop onto karjalainen.fi and take a look at the property alongside.
Yeah. So I would reply to that by going to the product philosophy. I mean, it's really the way Quintype has sort of like thought about the offering was just a very good match. So we could go on into sort of like individual features and functionalities that is out there, but the main thing is that if the publisher needs to compete on online world where their competition is global and at minimum nationwide, so they just realized that having their journalists who have a background in print, producing print news, if they would be still working mainly on the old legacy print systems, and they were just told that do compelling online content, that wouldn't work. So they needed them to be working on a system that sort of assumes that this all is going to go in digital, and where it's very easy. That's easiness is the key thing. That's, by the way, that has been one of the things that we've had many discussions with many of our customers, that they've been asking sort of like how much sort of training we are ready to provide them with. And we've always said that, okay, as much as you want, and there's no limit for it, because we know the system is so simple that it just simply does not take long to learn. And one another thing which has been this kind of eureka moment a few times is that once we get the journalists to do their first news with their mobile phone, that is typically when there's like, you don't need to explain things after that anymore. When they do their first online article with their mobile, then they just realize that, I can really create an article with my phone, maybe on the way home if I see something interesting. I don't need to get back to the office and create a story, because I can do it online, and I can share it to social media channels, and I can do a lot of really fancy stuff on my mobile.
Okay. No, that definitely is very heartening to hear, very pleasing to hear. So of course, the fact that it's on your smart device, quicker to the punch, ease and speed of publishing is essentially what drove it home. Just moving on in the food chain. So Karjalainen was really the first step, and I think this happened sometime around last year when we were starting off. But let's say, did it really stop at Karjalainen, and did it go beyond that? Because sometimes you do have a publisher who comes looking for a solution, and you end up finding it. But it's very important that it doesn't stop right there, and it leads you to the next opportunity and the next opportunity. So I just wanted to again, for the sake of the larger audience, get a sense of how did it snowball into the second and the third and the fourth customer and so on.
This snowballing is exactly the right term. So actually, we were sort of like maybe ourselves quite prepared to do the first project first and then look at the second options and so forth. But so it went that the word spread out, because it turned out there was a bunch of other companies looking for with the same kind of idea of going digital first and looking for a solution. And how could I say, our sales work was not very difficult. So basically what I've done is that I've just sat next to my phone and waited to be ringing. And that literally is the case. And once the first sort of like customer had made the move in here, so the barrier for the next one to make a move as well is way lower. So now what we are seeing a phenomenon going to larger and larger publishers, and that just seems to be the road looks very interesting. So we are now delivering our first 3 customers, and the pipeline looks quite promising as well. These still are mainly from Finland, but now we are focusing more on the German-speaking Central Europe and UK and throughout Europe. And as said, the challenges that the publishers have, they tend to be quite close to one each other. So it's a very similar type of thing going on in different places right now, and that's a very compelling or very interesting future we are seeing ahead of us.
Great. Now we spent the last few minutes talking about, what benefits it really has to the end client, the publisher, and, since we've been at this for the last few years, there was a lot of feedback that comes, from different regions, from different markets, and, what they look for in an ideal solution and, what goes into building it. But above and beyond that, I think I'm now going to, switch the gear a little bit in the actual value that it added, for Fiare. I mean, where were you in the journey, say before Quintype? What sort of impact it's had on your business, and more importantly, how has your experience been, over the last year and a half, that we've been working together?
Yeah, so this, how could I say, now within this year or a little bit over a year that we work together, actually now Quintype and Bold CMS actually has become very core of our strategy. That maybe wasn't the initial first thinking was that maybe that, okay, we can provide this to this one customer, maybe to somebody else as well. But then there has been a few key learnings for us. First of all, for publishers, the CMS goes in the very core of their business. So this is sort of like a very essential. So the partnership automatically becomes very strong with the end customer. So what it means in practice is that especially these legacy, the publishers who have legacy with print and history and so forth, they have quite a lot of different kind of systems which are out there, and some of them are such that you just have to live with them, and some are something that you can think of maybe that there will be a change at some point, but there's quite a lot of integration work. And then there's quite a lot of project management, all these kind of things that we, at least as an IT company and an IT project company, we had long experience that we've done that stuff, and we know that we know that stuff well. So that opened a lot of opportunities, first around the CMS project, but then once you are providing the core of the business, then you have quite a good position to have negotiation about a little bit sort of like second layer items. I'm talking about SEO consulting, I'm talking about data projects, data warehousing, all these kind of things that we know from the past already. So this really has been a door opener that has opened us a lot of doors where we probably wouldn't have gotten otherwise at all. And then it also goes around the whole suite of the Quintype offering, sort of like once you have the CMS component in place. So the next logical thing is to talk about the paywall solution or the commenting tool, and also something that we are quite excited about is the sort of like the ready-made front end that serves a very good purpose in many places, where, because quite often on these CMS projects, the front end design and UX and everything takes sort of like most of the air and attention. So that is a very good tool in order to deliver something on a timely manner, and that you have very good in forecasting how the project will go.
Great. And as you would imagine, it's not all a bed of roses, but how's your experience being working with the Quintype team, the support, the product, the engineering? I think you pretty much know almost everyone at Quintype today.
Yeah, I think we've been sort of all over each other, I think, now for the long time. So I'm gonna say, first of all, you can tell when somebody has a will to make things happen, and we've had this feeling all along that Quintype has the will to enable our business happening. And that's, I think, it's a little bit same as like with the product. We could go to individual sort of like things and requests and demands that we've had, but that's the fundamental layer that was there from the very beginning. And how could I say that sort of built an element of trust between us, I would like to think. Now one interesting thing is that when we went down to very practical things, then we learned quite a few things that the European publishers would like to have a little bit differently than what the publishers that Quintype has been working in the past has been. And by the way, having several customers already from the beginning has been very good for us for sort of like getting confirmation that if some request is a request by one customer only, or if it's something that all of the customer will want eventually. So we've had this kind of discussions quite continuously, and I think Quintype has had quite a smart way of, how could I say, saying yes to some of the things which are really, really relevant in terms of putting things on the product roadmap, rather than considering at customized work that we would be doing. Because these kind of on these solutions, customization is always sort of like it might be a little bit short-sighted in the long term. Mm-hmm. Now, at the same time, there has been requests that just don't fit into the product philosophy, and I'm referring now to the print legacy. So there's been requests that would eventually try to convert Bold into a legacy system, which everybody wants to get away from. And on those kind of things, Quintype has been quite firm of putting the limits, sort of like, this is not what Bold is about. And we learned about the product philosophy through that quite well. Then on the technical teams, I mean, like our teams have been working every day and so forth. Fantastic support from there. So people have been, gone beyond reasonable sort of like expectations. It's been very good, and yeah. So, and I believe that somehow the chemistry actually has been working so well in so many different levels. So when I've been dealing with Vineet and Chirdeep, I think it's been from the day one. It's been very natural, sort of like you just get this feeling that we think the same. But on the technical team, with the marketing team, with the project management, so it just seems that it's sort of like sometimes it's hard to tell that actually we are not talking with our internal team, but sort of like external partners. So it's been very, very good.
Great. Thank you for the kind words, Tommy. That really speaks, and I think it's likewise on how the relationship has been. We're also very comfortable. Fiare is just like an extension of the organization, and you're absolutely bang on. Where it doesn't feel like you're talking to someone from a different organization or an external. sort of a partner. That was really helpful for us, and it kind of helps, without having to put things onto a slide and spell it out. It's best if it comes direct as experience over the last year, and I think kudos to Fiare for being one of the first few to join hands and look at the partnership from that perspective. Just for the broader audience, I'm now going to just lay out one or two slides in where we think or how the partnership program or the structure really comes together. Whether you're an individual, a design organization, who is somewhere working in the publishing ecosystem. You might be a product company that's also doing a lot of work for digital publishers, digital content providers, or consulting organizations. There's different levels of partnership that we were launching with the program today. So it could be something as simple as a reference to something that's more elaborate, as an enterprise service partner that would come across a few tiers, or something as much of a strategic alliance, as we have with Fiare and we spoke about today. There's a lot of, should I say, besides the monetary benefits or the value to it, a lot of education, a lot of support, and a lot of, should I say, marketing fuel that gets added into making the partner network a lot more stronger, and also grows as a network, because it comes from, being able to bid for larger projects together with the partner ecosystem. So it's not just a matter of taking something new to an existing customer, but get introduced to a lot of new other exciting opportunities, through the partnership bandwagon, and being able to bid, for new business. And towards the very end, before we open the session for some questions from the attendees, I wanted to quickly walk through the journey of how it essentially transpires, where you first start learning about the program. You start discovering the products, the program, whether it fits into the ecosystem, and then go into registering as a Quintype partner. That's when we get into all of the education, whether it's regarding online workshops, demonstrations, just getting to learn both businesses on both the sides, before we go ahead and start planning for a launch, which is a go-to-market sort of a strategy along with the partner. And then, of course, it further, as Tommy said, snowballs into how we look at a growth trajectory, where it starts immediately adding a lot of benefits, whether it's in terms of new customers, new revenue, new opportunities, that we could be working together. So with that, I think we're also at the half an hour mark here for the session. So we could perhaps stop the presentation here and open the floor to some questions that might be there from the attendees. We probably have room for one or two questions.
So Vineet and Tommy, in terms of the kind of market that you're targeting now within Europe, in terms of deal sizes, etc., what is your strategy or outlook in terms of what you want to really target, as a whole between Fiare and Quintype? If you could give a little more insight on what kind of target markets exactly you are looking at in terms of the broader space.
So if I maybe reply from our standpoint, so what we see ahead of us is ladders. So we are going from one ladder to another, and this has to do with the nature of both. So because this is a very strategic sort of core of business solution, so we are now seeing a phenomenon that larger and larger publishers are sort of like ready to jump with bold. And how could I say, the biggest nationwide publishers right now are still maybe a year away from us right now, because they typically would like to see, you know, they typically wouldn't want to be the first ones to move on something new. But now once we go live with the existing customers and sites, so those discussions become easier and easier. And as I said, in Europe, sort of geographically, we are now looking at mainly at the Nordics, the German-speaking Central Europe, UK. Those would be the main markets, but we are getting actually leads now all over.
Yes, and you know, just to add to that, I think news media has kind of been mostly lower hanging fruit because the product suite you know, fits very well where it's fast moving content and, you know, high traffic sort of digital properties. But essentially, I think the ecosystem would expand further into, you know, not just news media as a segment, but almost anyone, whether it's, you know, scientific journals, you know, it's niche content, long form. You know, Tommy mentioned a little bit, and we do have our subscription management solution that kind of broadens it into, you know, premium content and premium content solutions that are out there. So yeah, I guess, you know, the world is the limit.
Right, thanks. And as a follow-up, probably, you know, Europe coming in with so many languages. So I guess that's not a concern at all with Quintype being, you know, language agnostic, right?
Yes and no, but then we can go into these very tiny details, which have been one of the things that we've discussed. For example, in some of the languages in here, the word can be very short or very, very long. And whereas in some places, the bold had an assumption of word count, whereas we needed to get sort of like a letter count. And those kind of little tweaks we've done now all the way. And now it's less and less of an issue to have different languages. Then sort of like the local other characteristics would be payment methods and those kind of things, which vary from country to country. But that is where I believe that we are then providing value to Quintype, because we can manage many of those things.
Great. Well, I guess that kind of brings us to an end of the session today. Thank you very, very much, Tommy, for making the time. I see it's beautiful weather behind you. So you know, enjoy the summer and the time. And thank you very much for everyone who made it to the webinar today. You know, we hope the information was helpful, and you know, if there are any questions or more information you'd like to know or get, you know, please feel free to reach out to me or you know, the Quintype team at the contact information that's going to be displayed below. Thank you and have a nice day.
Yes, thank you all.